Today's Cam Church sermon is going to be about thinking deeply. It's taken directly from the fundamentals of Unicult, so I'm going to be speaking on this chapter. If you have the book, you can turn to page 63. And I'm just going to read a little bit at first, and then I'll be talking about it. Deep thought is highly valued in Unicult. Solutions-based thinking is the key to solving any and all problems. Let's just stop there. Solutions-based thinking. We have a really strange reality in our world right now, and for the past several dozens of years, maybe since the 60s, where the idea of finding solutions to our problems is not really valued. And the idea of finding solutions to material problems is valued, but the idea of finding solutions to the entirety of the problem is not really valued. When we look at an issue, no matter what it is, it could be homelessness, it could be, some kind of frustration in your own life, whatever it is, it's usually an interdimensional problem in the sense that it integrates with your spiritual and emotional well-being, and it integrates with the physical reality. If you're like, oh my gosh, I'm really having trouble paying my rent, well, that's going to affect your stress levels. That's going to make you feel negative and bad. And it's also going to affect your physical situation where you might not have enough money we're thinking of as physical because it relates directly to physical reality, and your home. When we don't feel as well spiritually or emotionally, we neglect or cannot keep up our physical reality. Things like working out or eating well or saving money or keeping our house clean. These things are really hard to do if emotionally we don't have our needs met. I saw a TikTok the other day that was just brilliant, which was talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs being a direct ripoff of the chakra system. You need your root chakra to be taken care of before you can move into your sacral chakra, and Maslow's hierarchy of needs is just the same way. We have to have our security as people met first, physically, in order to have these emotional experiences in order to move on and on. But it's not quite as segregated as Maslow's hierarchy makes it seem. Sometimes, if we aren't emotionally feeling fulfilled, then our physical reality can be affected as well. So I encourage us all to sort of look at this not in such a linear fashion and not in such like a ladder, like hierarchy, but in a whole body system, in a whole consciousness system, in an interdimensional reality, which connects to what I'm talking about, which is the fact that our society doesn't really know how to solve problems. It's very baffling to me to live in this world. When I look at my friends and family who struggle, and I look at society, I say, well, the solutions are simple. To me, I can see the solutions. I can see them very clearly, and I know that I have a gift for that, and I'm very grateful for that gift, but it's not that hard to think a little deeply and find the solutions to the problems that we all face. Me and all of my friends who I have see the solutions to the problems that we have in society. Why is homelessness an issue? Why? We have enough resources to clothe, feed, and shelter every person. Why are those resources restricted? When we look at such a problem like homelessness, and we begin to feel baffled some people don't feel baffled. Some people say, well, they should work hard, and they buy into the societal understanding of lack. But if you spend just a little bit of time thinking deeply and opening your mind up to empathy, you realize that there are solutions to these physical problems that have to do with our spiritual reality, our emotional reality as well. We're so cut off from one another that we think, oh, you have to suffer because I'm suffering. And you're on your own, buddy. Go work, go get a job at a fast food place. I don't care. Meanwhile, you might have had privileges and opportunities that this other person didn't have. You might not have had the trauma in your childhood that led to addiction, etc., etc. The more we learn about all of these things, the more compassion and empathy we can have for everyone. People suffer from trauma. People suffer from addiction, which is linked to trauma. People suffer from mental illness. And we're all familiar with these things. Our society doesn't support us in these ways. When I saw that the sermon today was on thinking deeply, I shrunk away and I shuddered and I thought, oh no, what am I going to say about thinking deeply? And the reason why I did is because I've been going through an intense spiritual portal recently. I've been going through an intense shadow awakening, and I'm learning a lot of very basic spiritual understandings, such as being in the moment and not attaching to reality and letting reality and the divine plan flow in my life without trying to control things. Thinking deeply is often considered the opposite of that spiritual flow. If you study any other religion, almost nobody is going to tell you to think deeply. I don't know any other religion who preaches think deeply. I think the Jehovah's Witnesses are like, question the teachings, but also we have all the answers and our answers are the right answers. When I say think deeply, and when we talk about thinking deeply in Unicult, we're talking about analyzing our situation in the world from a spiritual and physical place, and we're talking about coming up with practical solutions in order to solve the problems that we face in our own lives and in the world. What's amazing about this deep dive that we can do with our consciousness when we analyze the world is that if we think deeply, hard enough and long enough, we eventually come to the realization that we don't need to think about anything at all and that we can simply surrender into the divine flow of life. There are two schools of thought with this idea. The first is that if you think deeply, you're going to get the ego involved, you're going to over-attach to everything, and you're going to try to solve the problems from a place that is detached from the spiritual reality. And in that same vein of thinking, if you just simply resonate on a higher frequency, and you simply have good vibes only, and you just allow for the divine to guide your life, and you let go of your attachment, and you just surrender to flow, and you don't think about anything, and you don't overanalyze it, then you're creating Unitopia in that moment. This way of thinking is valid, and there are many people who benefit and who can accomplish, who benefit from and who can accomplish this type of existence. But for many of us, that is not possible. For many of us, that is called spiritual bypassing. And for many of us, it is actually very problematic in a personal way and also in a societal way. The easiest way I can describe what I'm talking about is when white people say, I don't see color, we're all the same, everybody. Let's all just hold hands around the globe and sing a song and it's all over. Just stop complaining. I just want to exist. I don't want to be made to feel guilty about my white skin. This is ridiculous. People say that and they feel it. And the reason why that is not okay, the reason why that's spiritual bypassing is because you aren't looking at the systemic injustice that has been and continues to happen. From your place of blind privilege, you are going about your life thinking that everyone's experience is the same as yours, and you're not actually looking at your deeper feelings about your own insecurity about race or your own feelings or your own pain or your own ancestry or whatever it is that you need to look at to heal. Your own privilege, your own oppression, whatever it is. That type of thinking is a good goal. It's good to say, I want to get to the point where we can all just hold hands around a globe and sing and be totally fine, but we're not there yet. And in order for us to get there, we have to think deeply. What does it mean to think deeply? When I say think deeply, I think about analyzing systems. That's what I like to do when I think deeply. I like to see how things operate. Many of us use Instagram. I posted about this yesterday. What did Instagram do recently? They took the heart button, which we have equated for years and years to our self-worth. This heart button is our portal to seeing how many of our friends and followers love us, like our content. And what did they do with that heart button that represents our self-worth? They replaced it with a shopping cart. A shopping cart. So now you're going to try to find your validation, your connection to your friends and family and your loved ones, and you click a shopping cart. That is psychological warfare. There are things like this which are being done to our consciousness. We are being brainwashed. That is a form of terrible brainwashing that on a subconscious level is affecting us and equating our consciousness to self-worth and shopping. It's blatant, but only if you're thinking deeply about it. So when I say think deeply, thinking deeply is a form of protection. It's a form of analyzing systems which currently exist, which may or may not be rooted in, intentional harm, okay? Is it intentional that they did that? Yes. But is everything intentional? I don't know. I don't think so. I think there's a lot of ignorance involved. I think there's a lot of greed. And I think that when we look at a system, we can either see that it's intentional or not. Either way, if it's a harmful system, if there's a system that creates harm on any level, addiction to social media, lowering our self-worth, making us feel insecure, causing us to post certain things, giving our data away. These are things that harm other people. Using technology that, is mined in these other places. We have to have the capacity as spiritual people to think deeply about the world. We have to have the capacity to understand and comprehend the evils and the darkness in the world in order to ascend properly into the light. Without this conscious ability to think deeply about our world, we are going to be just attempting to repress the true darkness that exists, and we're going to be trying to skate on top of it. And what happens when you repress something? Has anyone ever tried to repress something? What happens when you keep a secret from someone? Do you feel it tearing you up inside? Do you feel it destroying your guts? And then do you see how you later lash out or act defensive? Whenever we repress things, they fester. So when I'm talking about thinking deeply, I'm talking about acknowledging the way that things currently are and finding real solutions to these problems. You cannot have a real solution to a problem if you don't acknowledge all of the systems operating to create that problem. Many people have perpetuated the idea that the point of meditation is to cease all thinking. I think that's a brainwash. Some types of meditation are to just stop thinking, more so just to experience the present moment. Okay, and that is this is why I was kind of skeptical about this chapter, is because I just now learned how to be in the present moment, like 2 months ago. Because I'm always thinking. And I think that there is a lot of benefit to always being thinking, to always be thinking, to always think. But it's important that we also learn how to be present in our bodies and in our space and to appreciate the infinite now. But that's also a form of thinking. It may be beneficial for some to meditate on lack of thought. In Unicult, we mostly focus on generating the most beneficial thoughts possible. we say instead of because we like to reach, I think in saying you're connecting to the entire universe, right? You're like and you're vibrating, you're just vibing. But when you say you're actually reaching up. You're actually saying and there's an energetic experience of questioning your reality, which is to call up to invite divine information into your consciousness. There's a lot I can talk about. Let's see. I'm going to talk about how we learn things, and I'm also going to talk about different types of thinking, which is not in the book. When you learn something, I've talked about this recently a few times. When you learn something, first you have to conceptualize it in your head. You have to say, okay, I know that this is true and this is true. Like I logically understand this to be true. And then the next phase is to get it into your heart, into your own consciousness. For me currently, I'm trying to learn to trust the universe, right? And conceptually, I'm like, I want to trust the universe. I know that I can trust the universe. I have all this evidence of being able to trust the universe. And logically, I'm ready to trust the universe. But in my heart, in my true body, like in my experience, in my emotional body, I'm like, whoa, no, I am not trusting the universe. No one's ever looked out for me. I've got to look out for myself. That is dangerous. I'm not doing that. But I know that my way of doing things, my thinking that I'm the only one who's going to look out for me, has been detrimental to me. So I'm ready to take this consciousness to trust the universe into my heart. How do you do that? Sometimes it's as easy as saying, I accept that. And you have a guardian in between your head and your heart. And the guardian can say, is that a safe thought? Okay, I'll let it in. Sometimes it's that easy. Other times we have to affirm it over and over again every single day. We have to brainwash ourselves with our new belief. Additionally, you can pray to your higher self and to your higher power and to something higher, whatever it is. In Unicult, we allow each person to create their own individual connection to something higher. And whatever your something higher is, you can pray to that, and you can ask for this thought to come into your consciousness in the deepest possible way, to come into your heart and to guide your life this way. This is a form of thinking deeply. The types of thinking. What are the different types of thinking? The types of thinking are the logical and the emotional. The types of thinking are the reactionary types of thinking, the thoughts that happen on a cyclical basis in your mind. When you just listen to your thoughts, what are you thinking? What are you saying? When I was depressed, I was like, I hate myself. I hate my life. I want to die. I hate myself. I hate my life. I want to die. And I repeated those affirmations over and over and over and over again every single day. You're always affirming something. So what is it that you're affirming? If you can change your thoughts, your cyclical patterns of thinking, into beneficial cyclical patterns of thinking, I love my life. I love myself. I'm excited for today. I love my life. I love myself. I'm excited for today. I love myself. I love my life. I'm excited for today. I love myself. I love my life. I'm excited for today. That's going to change your entire reality. And that's a form of thinking. So we've got the subconscious cyclical thinking. We've got the program that's running inside of our consciousness, the brainwashing that's happened to us that we get to rewrite, and we get to brainwash ourselves with whatever is beneficial for us. And usually things which are beneficial are higher vibrational. It's up to you, though, to decide what thoughts to think in your own head. It's your choice. But are they making you feel bad, or are they going to make you feel good? Other types of thinking are logical systems analysis stuff, like, okay, well, if this happens and this happens and this happens, problem solving, that's really essential. And another type of thinking deeply is empathy. So for Unicult practice, I want you to write down these 3 types of thinking. Subconscious cyclical. I was thinking so deeply about subconscious cyclical. Subconscious cyclical, logical analytical. Okay, logical analytical is the next one, which is like analyzing all the problem solving. So problem solving, logical analytical, that's the second one. And the third one is empathetic, emotional, with empathy. Okay, so for those 3 different types of thinking, celebrate yourself for your wins in those spaces. So write down a few different ways that you have successfully brought in higher vibrational reality in your ways of deep thought, and maybe different problems that you've solved. Maybe for the last one, you were empathetic towards someone that it was hard to be empathetic toward. You showed kindness to someone who you didn't originally get along with, or you harmonized a conflict because you were able to see it from someone else's perspective. For the logical analytical, what was a difficult problem that you solved that was maybe a material or physical problem? And for the last one, what's a negative thought that you've been able to change into a positive thought? Negative thoughts create negative realities. Can you find these negative thoughts in your mind? Then can you find the positive opposite thought, which would create a positive reality? If you can, then you have done a fantastic job of thinking deeply. The reason why this works is because you're analyzing your consciousness. You're analyzing how your brain works, and you're taking the steps to logically and systematically change your consciousness with your own perception of and consideration of, and you're creating a plan for the future, and you work toward that plan. That is thinking deeply. Each deep thought you struggle to understand, the stronger your brain becomes. This is real. They say that like Einstein's brain was very big. I think if they studied my brain, they'd be astonished. I really think that. I do. I know that my brain works differently than other people's. And you know why it is that way? It's not because I was born with an exceptional brain. It's because I love to think about things in different ways. And you can feel when your brain is being exercised. It is a muscle. And it's really wonderful to recognize this, because if you're it happens to me sometimes when I'm like reading Shakespeare. I don't read Shakespeare a lot. It's fine. But when I read Shakespeare, it's like it takes a lot of effort, or at least when I did read Shakespeare, it would take a lot of effort to understand what the fuck was going on, right? And you can, and it takes effort, and you can feel the frustration of like thinking. And most people, they give up, and they're like, oh, that was too hard. I don't know what's going on there. But when you allow yourself to be calm and say, okay, I'm going to just keep trying, whatever it is, playing an instrument, that's a form of expanding your consciousness. Whatever it is, to sit there and practice whatever you're trying to practice, to focus your attention, your God-given attention, uni-given attention, you are actually making the muscles of your brain stronger. Okay? When we say think deeply, we're saying honor your brain, honor your consciousness, honor your ability to look at a problem and find a solution. We live in a cynical world. In order for us to turn it into a hopeful world, we each get to use our own consciousness to think deeply about the problems that exist, to analyze them, and to change our own consciousness. That's where we really have our power, is in our own consciousness. To change our own consciousness into a solution that is not harmful to anyone. Can we live in a world that is not harmful to anyone? I believe we can. Do you? That's my sermon on thinking deeply. I'll do a little prayer for us to close out. Spirit of Uni, we are so grateful for all of the members of Unicult. We are so grateful for the viewers in this Periscope. We are so grateful for all the new members of Unicult, and we ask that anyone who is watching now, who is drawn to what we're doing, to continue to follow, to continue to tune in, to check out the Unicult YouTube channel for much more content, to read the websites, to go on their own little deep dive of what is Unicult, and to join Unicult if it resonates for you. I am so grateful that you are here with me today. We are calling the most divine light to radiate into each of your cells, for each of your immune systems to be brilliantly sparkling bright, and for abundance to flow for all of us, and happiness and joy and clarity for the most divine Uni bless. Oh. Please join us in the Unicult Discord to welcome the new members. It's a new member mixer. So please, we're going to make a t-shirt that says, I joined a cult in 2020. And I think that that is a really great t-shirt. And I think it's a really great sentiment. And I think that if you're interested in joining Unicult, you should definitely do it in the next couple of weeks, because then you could have that be a t-shirt that you wear. That's my pitch. Join a cult in 2020. What else are we doing? What else are you gonna do in 2020 other than join a cult? It seems like the right thing to do. That's my opinion. All right, uni bless.